Welcome back to the CGFL podcast. It is going into week 5, which feels super weird to say. Feels even weirder that we're here. We are now over a quarter of the way through the season. There were a lot of implications. My butt hurts this week. Jeff Squared beat me by 83 points. I'm not feeling great right now. I'm doing this against my will. There was no co-host. There's less banter. There's more bitching. But here we are. I might be the toilet. I think I am the toilet bowl matchup this week, and I have some complaints you're all going to hear about, which is going to be fantastic for you. So feel free to skip through my complaining session. But there were some requests for what to talk about on the podcast, which I will get to that as well. There were some segments that I want to do. I want to do my my top 4. We'll get through that. And we got our matchups this upcoming week as well to look at. So there is a lot to go through. Christian McCaffrey is a monster. I just want to put that out there. Um, I have a problem with Christian McCaffrey. Um, I was supposed to be doing a mailbag segment, which you don't really have any mailbag stuff. So for those of you that do want to mailbag me, you can either put it in the group me chat or you can email me at azurich66@gmail.com with your mailbag questions, which I'm sure won't be sarcastic at all. Let's just dive headlong in here. Let's look at the matchups from this previous week and let's talk about them. I would just want to go over mine first and give you this opportunity to sort of hear the Jeffs put up 180, like unprecedented. What a great week for them. This is a fantastic outing all around. When you have AJ Brown, who put up 40 points, Puka, who put up 31. They went into OT in that game, by the way. So, there is that. And he scored the game winning touchdown. Or maybe they didn't go. I don't even remember, honestly. It feels like so long ago that Sunday was here. But no, that's exactly what happened. And then just like Christian McCaffrey put up 50 points on his own, right? Like, okay, what am I going to do? Aaron Jones put up 3, and that was against Detroit on Thursday. So, like, me going into the weekend compared to me coming out of the weekend, vastly different outcomes. Me going into the weekend, I was like, man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna trounce the Jeffs. Um, this is what I needed. And then just everything that happened afterwards. But I do have some comments too. There was the Toy Story game. If you watched, we did watch that with the kids. It was kind of fun. I mean, like for an adult, you're like, this is buggy as hell. And but I don't care. Like my girls actually watch football with me for once. They got bored after Duke Kaboom did the halftime show. They realized that it was just going to be football again. So maybe let's do like a post game show too next time. NFL pundits that I know are listening to this, get on that, please, if you're going to do something along those lines. All right, let's break this down a little bit, and I promise I'm going to do this for every other team as well. Here's my bitching point. I am going to take the trophy for the most injured team this year. Not even on my roster anymore. Like I had high hopes for Evan Hull while Jonathan Taylor was out. Jonathan Taylor technically injured, but I traded into that, so I can't complain there. Deontay Johnson with the hamstring injury week 1 takes away one of the 4 wide receivers that I had planned to play any given week. Jamal Williams, who I just finally had to drop. We had Javonte Williams go out during this game with a hip flexor. He's out. It's Saquon Barkley with the ankle injury, T. Higgins with broken ribs. I mean, these are not like nobodies for the I mean, maybe Evan Hull, you make that argument. Sure, I get that 100%. But like the other guys I named were not nobodies. Like Jamal Williams was supposed to be a guy until Kamara came back. Higgins getting injured. Like he's kind of been a nobody this year, but like we know who he is. He's good for like 2 touchdowns and 68 yards in a game, some shit like that, but not this year. Barkley going down hurts me too. And then thanks to fucking Rapey McRape over in Cleveland getting injured and making Amari Cooper's day look awful with that backup. So 1 catch for 16 yards. Cool. That would not there's almost no scenario where I would have won this week at all. The writing was on the wall early when I'm watching the Jacksonville game, and I'm just like, Trevor Lawrence is just throwing to Christian Kirk. Could you maybe throw it to Calvin Ridley? Like Calvin Ridley had 1 touchdown, 38 yards on 2 catches. So like to get 12 points out of him was a blessing, an absolute fucking blessing. Because this is gonna be, knock on wood, like this is gonna be my worst week by far. Jalen Hurts putting up 30 and then nothing else. I mean, great week to the Jeffs. I'm not trying to take any of that away. I've not paid them yet. I'm still waiting for the stat correction to correct 80 points on this. So they are also our $25 dollar winner this week for most points. This shakes up my power rankings. We talked about this last week when Sean was on the podcast, and this definitely shakes things up quite a bit for me on the power rankings. In a big way. Spoiler alert, if you remember last week, I had me at number 1 in it. I do not have me at number 1 moving forward with the amount of injuries that this team has sustained. We are starting to get into like WTF mode. I mean, I just had to drop $27 on a wide receiver for the Cardinals. That's a rookie to fill in until I can figure out what's going on at wide receiver. So the next matchup here, this one is tough because I think Carlos beats all but 2 other teams or 3 other teams in total. Yeah, 2 other teams other than his opponents. So 3 teams in total. Kudos, Zach getting the W. Unfortunately, Carlos drops to 0-4 here. Joe Burrow does not look good. And what hurts even more is, that trade starts to look a little worse and worse, I think, week to week. From just the quarterback perspective of it, because Carlos had Burrow and he had the option to keep Hurts, decided that Burrow was the guy. I tried to get Burrow out of that, and that was not what happened. So Josh Allen, 45 points this week, just putting up 40 more points from a position right there will put you in a deficit. But like Carlos fought this battle hard. Like he had Stephon Diggs, he had Khalil Herbert, who had a great game. Devonta Smith, who played pretty well, I thought. Tyler Higbee actually had a really good game too. And weirdly, they extended his contract too this week. I don't know if anyone saw that. Like, okay, sure. But Zach just got all his points from Josh Allen, and then Josh Jacobs finally looking a little bit more himself. What worries me on the Josh Jacobs side of things is no Jimmy G. I'm sorry. Yeah, no Jimmy G. Like, is this what we're going to get from Josh Jacobs when Jimmy G is back around? So, but it is really good to see him again. He went 81, 8 catches for 1 rushing touchdown. So, good to see him back in form. Chris Godwin getting 20, 114 and 8. Like to me, this is the biggest surprise all year. I think Godwin's just a dude, by the way. Like I want to put that out there. Like I don't really have high hopes from the rest of the year. I know I've been vocally down on him, but he did get double-digit targets and he did do something with it. I certainly think Godwin's look better than like who I would compare him to in the league is like a T. Higgins sort of a thing. And Godwin looks better than Higgins does, so I give him like a tier above, but maybe not a tier above, like a rank above or a couple ranks above. But all the same, 20 points, great. You finally get some production out of him. Bijan Robinson is just a stud muffin, man. This guy is running laps. He looks good. He's obviously going to be that guy in the league. I think gets targeted very early next year when people think the shoe is going to drop for like Christian McCaffrey. If Bijan Robinson keeps his production where it's at right now, the impressive part to point out on all of this with Bijan is He has not seen a game yet with 20 touches. And the one game that he had close to 20 was 19. He got 20. He got 21 points in that game, 21.2 points in that game with no touchdowns. He caught 4 passes for 50 yards. He ran the ball 19 times for 124. Like, no touchdowns in that game, and he gets that. So, like, the production is there. When they lost to Detroit in week 3, they looked awful. They went 20-6 was the score of that game. Nobody got any points. He still went 10 for 33 on the ground and 4 for 27 in the air and got you 10 points. So, like, man, I hate to say, like, I love that floor because I don't love that floor. I wish the floor was like a little higher, but our sample size is 4 games. So, like, maybe that is the anomaly, and his samples and his floor is more like 14 or 15 when that comes to fruition. So, don't even know if I said that word right, but I'm just gonna keep rolling with the podcast, pretend like I did. Fruition, that's the word. I still actually can't confirm that. And then Jahan Dotson kind of coming to life here a little bit too. Like, I personally had higher expectations for Jahan Dotson this year than he had put up. 7, 5, 4, 9 are his target share for the year. 4 for 27 is all he produced with the tutty. So, like, 12.5 points, and that's the highest point total he's gotten all year against the Philly defense, who apparently hasn't really done too much in the year. Like, I didn't actually watch this game, so I can't really comment too much on it. But, from what I understand, like, let's just look at stats here. Like, 4 for 9, not great. 9 targets is good, promising. But I expected him to become the alpha in year 2, and with Terry McLaurin having the turf toe injury early on, like, that worried me. I know I've said it's like a really gnarly injury, but like, Dotson did not take that step forward. So he still is the beta, not even the 1B on that team. Like, I don't think he's the second option. I think Brian Robinson's the second option. Not near. I'm just saying, like, from a game script perspective. So Blood Brothers takes this one out 152 to 128.2. Impressive that he's off to a 2-2 start after benching somebody and winning. I mean, one of those wins is with one less player. So kudos to Zach here for giving very little shits and still doing something with it. Just goes to show how fantasy is very frustrating. For Sean, this is kind of a devastating, is not the right word, but Brett needed to win this game. And I think, I mean, obviously Sean needed to win this game too. Brett goes 2-2 now and puts himself in 6, and that's that playoff spot. If we're going on bankable wins here, like, bankable losses, the same thing. Jordan Addison getting 0 points, just a total goose here. I don't know if that's the needle, because you need 22 points out of Addison to make things really work. Debo just getting 6, like, that injury during that game. Just not seeing Debo really do too much there. Justin Herbert also with the hand injury too. Like, I mean, what do you do at this point, right? When your team sort of looks like this, San Francisco's defense only putting up to, like, what a weird fucking game for San Francisco's defense, who I expected to have so many points and just did not. Didn't. Sean's also riding Eckler on the bench too. He's not going to be back this next week. It's going to be the week afterwards. So you wonder, like, because we don't have keepers and because we don't have incentive for seasons moving forward, like, what do you do if you're Sean at this point? You can't trade assets for next year for the future. So, like, you got to try to make as much work right now as possible. I think you have the argument that you're not going to get Eckler next week. You need something next week. We talked about this on the pod last week. I think Eckler is your piece that you have to break down at this point, because you just can't guarantee you're going to get what you want from. I mean, when Eckler comes back, he's going to be great. Hopefully, that's my hope for fantasy purposes. Like, I really hope that is the case, but, like, I'm not convinced. Lamar Jackson's having a great year. I didn't point that out right now. Like, a great year. He is looking way more comfortable. He's got targets. He's got more mobility. He looks really good. So I think the Lamar Jackson draft is just a steal for where he went value wise. CeeDee Lamb, on the other hand, I feel like he's just been average this year because Dak is average. So what cracks me up is like if you were here on draft day, you heard Brett. There was just a running joke, and Ryan had a printed sheet of everything, and um he was like going through quarterback tiers, and Brett just got on this high horse compelling case about how Dak is just awful and like a tier below. So like the only note that Gav made that day was to cross out Dak Prescott, or the only point that Ryan made was to cross out Dak Prescott on the sheet. So it's surprising me in the end that he turns around and picks up Lamb when he hates Dak so much. My issue is like CeeDee Lamb, alpha dog, this guy needs double digit targets. He's not been getting them. It went 4, 13, 7, and 6. Like I get it. We're winning games without passing the ball, like 4 for 4 and 77 week 1 for just 11 points. But like week 2 is also a W in a big way against the Jets. So sure. But like 13, he caught 11 for 143, no touchdowns. So only got one touchdown all year. I don't know why they're rushing him. These are weird things that you're having CeeDee Lamb do. It's that team is not coached well. This is not super surprising to me that it's happening. It's only surprising to me in the fact that like if I'm an NFL coach, like I really need to like put it up there. Yeah. So in the end, I mean that's kind of where things ended up. Brett gets that W 135 to 103. And that's kind of all she wrote for Brett and Sean's matchup in week 4 here. Looking out at Camperdude and Pontiac Bandits, I had Camperdude winning this one, eking out on a margin. And to me, he really did just kind of like eke out on a margin here. Look, I always hesitate with Mick. I just hesitate with Mick, right? Kirk Cousins had like a weirdly not great game, but like 15 points. Okay, sure. Tyreek Hill had a weird game as well. Achane is the real deal. Sean's got him on his team. Man, oh man, that guy is legit good. Like, and I just can't. If you watched him, if you had the privilege to watch him, if you have NFL Sunday ticket and you just turned on the game and not Red Zone and just watched him play, geez, Louise, like that's striking gold. To me, that's striking gold. DJ Moore putting up 28 points for Mick, like I guess another anomaly, like Denver's defense is awful, but like you pick DJ Moore to do that sort of a thing. If he is going to get anything, that's what it is. Justin Fields looked great. Let's like at least dwell on that for a minute. Like, can we please just, pains me to say this, but like, can we please just trade him to the Falcons and then like get the 1 and 2 draft pick next year, please? And fire Eberflus tomorrow. Like yesterday actually would have been nice. 2 days ago after the game. Okay, done with that. Gus Edwards not going to do anything, but apparently David Montgomery is, right? If I'm a Gibbs owner, I'm also in panic mode. If you drafted him where you drafted him at, if I'm a Gibbs owner, I'm in panic mode. He's DeAndre Swift, but a rookie version of DeAndre Swift where they trust him less. So like it hurts me a lot that that's the case because I mean I've got stock in him other places too. We don't talk about other fantasy leagues on this podcast, wink wink. But if I'm a Gibbs owner in a redraft league, it's tough. You're like, the flex spots are more valuable than ever this year with the way that the league got structured. So maybe through the bye weeks, you put Gibbs in one of those spots, but you can't trust him as an RB2. You just can't. Dan Campbell's not going to run him enough for that to be the case. And like, he's not even getting justifiably enough passing work right now. He just wants to jam it down your throat. And like Montgomery is going to do that. Montgomery had 3 rushing touchdowns, 121 on the ground, and 2 catches. And he had you know, just the 3 touchdowns on the day, but 32 attempts. Like this is what Dan Campbell wants in Detroit, and it's working. It's working. They're 3-1 right now. Like this is doing what he wants. So anyway, from like an outside in perspective, sure, frustrating. If you're a Gibbs owner, like striking gold there for Mick too. So I've got another bankable win for Mick, who I'm just always down on. Moved up quite a bit. I still think his bench is, leaves a lot to be desired. And if the one thing that I give like Mick all the credit in the world for is if you look at his starting lineup every week, I encourage you to do this. Go look at his starting lineup and then look at his bench for that week. Look at the points on his starting roster and then look at the points on his bench. We're all like one injury away. And like, I myself try to build for depth and like everybody just ends up being banged up and that sucks. But like, boy, oh boy, health is going to be a concern if and when Mick loses just one guy. And that's what kills me. That's why I'm like, but dude's rocking it. So like, can't knock the former champ in years past. He's getting it done. Gav just continued bad luck on his end. You've got Trevor Lawrence, who's not looking super great right now. I do think Jacksonville turns it around though this week and then stays right. I'm on Rob St. Brown. You know, he's injured. I had to take a second because he may not even play. It's one of those things where he gets a lot of looks, he gets a lot of stuff in the air, he's getting the touchdowns, he's very talented. But he's more looked like a WR2 or like a low end WR1 this year than you were hoping for with the draft capital you put into him. Romeo Doubs, on the other hand, like what a genuine surprise. Like I know Christian Watson just got back, but man, the past 2 weeks, he was 12 targets and 13 targets and above 18 points. And like this guy's sustaining like good volume in Green Bay. Now, I don't know. It seems like Jordan Love loves to put the ball around quite a bit, but like maybe he's got that connection with Dobbs that he can keep going for a third week straight. And then all of a sudden Dobbs becomes, right now I have him ranked at WR31. But like if he does double digit targets again and gets, over 90 yards and or a touchdown somewhere in that like 70 and a touchdown or like 90 yards on 13 catches kind of a thing, like I'm moving him way, way up. Like he might jump up double where he's at and somebody else gets knocked down. Disappointing day for Mixon, man. I was so high on Mixon this year. I thought he's going to get all the work. It's just not happening. He's not. And you would think they'd lean on him more while Burrow is injured. But Joe Burrow Boo Boo is just not. It's a mess there right now. It's a mess. It's a mess. I'm happy I did not put anything more than $5 on Joe Burrow to win MVP this year. Mark Andrews, great trade, right? Slots right in 25 points right away. Again, that's Lamar Jackson, but like Jacoby Myers, Jerry Jeudy not getting done. Jerry Jeudy against like a poor Chicago. I think you were hoping for more than just 5 targets and only 3 catches for 52. And I don't know what to do with Jerry Jeudy. I don't know what to do with Russell Wilson. And in this league, I think you can't play Jerry Jeudy. I think you have to kind of move into like Jalen Warren territory, believe it or not. Like I would rather play the second string, running back who looks better than their first string. But like you've got Najee bench too, so like I get it. It's tough. You're holding the handcuff and like holding hope they figure it out. But I would play Jalen Warren over that. You get cut back this week, right? So I really hope, knock on wood. You might also, Gav, be in a situation where you might have to break down an asset, to get something else. Like I don't know what that looks like, but people might want to start barking at Gav for some trade stuff here. The last matchup of the previous week is now our current first place Peel, who I'm sure is now more involved with fantasy than ever, given that he's in first place, and dethroning Nick from the number 1 spot. So Tua, just a pretty average game here. The at Buffalo thing, right, is always going to be tough. Coming off a huge performance from the week prior. Anthony Richardson with a huge performance here. Now, oddly, you've got Justin Fields who came on. And if you were a listener of the pod last week, we were saying, here's the thing, like you could comfortably sit Justin now knowing that you've got another guy. I'm not an Anthony Richardson guy, but like I wonder how many of my predictions are wrong compared to right. Peel's the quarterback whisperer. I said that last week, but you know, he gets it. Like, he understands what I don't. So for fantasy, I think Richardson will continue to be good. Do I think he's a top 6 guy? No, I think he's probably like number 7 to me. I don't know. I mean, boy, if he does that on the ground, but like Jonathan Taylor's not back. I don't know that they've really figured out what they're wanting to do with their run game quite yet. You got 1 week where Richardson's out and then they're running the ball 30 times, and then another week where Richardson's back and they're letting him run around. He's got 2 passing touchdowns for 200 yards. He's got a rushing touchdown. I just don't know what to make of Richardson in the NFL. I didn't think that he was going to look that special. Now, the Rams are not the best, period. They did end up losing this game to the Rams, but yeah, man, I don't know. I really probably shouldn't dwell on this one longer because I feel like I'm backing myself into a corner. Like, do I think Anthony Richardson has these kinds of days ahead of him? Yeah, probably. I think the question is, are there more of them than there are less of them? And if you look at his schedule moving forward, doesn't really get hard, but it doesn't get a lot easier. Like, Cleveland's defense might give him a challenge. Tennessee and Jacksonville are not going to really challenge him. New Orleans defense isn't going to challenge him. I don't care what the metrics say on Yahoo. Like, Carolina's defense is not going to challenge him, but like, you better believe come week 10, like Bill Belichick is going to give him he's going to give him some shit that game. They go into a bye, and then Tampa's defense is also very real. Like, weird as it is to say it, Todd Bowles blitzes the shit out of that team more than anyone else in the league. I know I've said that before, but it's true. You're going to put a lot of pressure on him. I do love the stretch at the end for Anthony Richardson, especially if he stays healthy and he can be this kind of a guy. Justin Jefferson, no words needed. Michael Pittman, just a bad game. You know, I think Peel's really high on the stack. It's not really this kind of stack that I would like. I would like a Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson and a ground runner with Pittman. But teach your own. ETN coming off a weird game too. Jacksonville not looking super fantastic, but like, I love the numbers on the other side of stuff. So 18 for 77 and a touchdown in week 1, 12 for 40 in week 2 is not so great, but like 19 for 88, no touchdown in week 3, 20 for 55. Targets are there too, guys. 5, 3, 5, and 3. So like, okay, so we're averaging 4 targets a game here. Great. I'd like to see 5 or 6 a game, but 4 ain't bad. And he's doing stuff on the ground too, right? ETN's just not falling in the end zone this year. He's getting a hell of a lot of the work though. So you got to be thrilled with that. And I think that Jacksonville as a whole on the offense, as I've said, will turn it around. Kyron Williams, absolute steal. This thing is going to be great for Peel. Remember that Peel also got Cam Akers, who is sitting on the bench right now, but like, hot take, like, Cam went 5 for 40, guys. Like, 2 and 11 in the air. Like, he looked good in his first debut for Minnesota. I think it's worth noting they played the Panthers, and the Panthers suck, and their defense has been bad against running backs too. But like, look at what he's going up against. So Kansas City's going to stuff him, but you're not playing Cam Akers. Chicago, San Francisco, Green Bay, Falcons, New Orleans, then Denver and Chicago again. Like, Denver and Chicago again. I don't know. There might be a stretch here in the bye weeks. I think Cam Akers might become playable in a flex. And if Madison can't stay healthy, which is totally possible given his profile, like, that's going to happen. Last thing I will say is the Dallas defense is sort of a cheat code when it comes to fantasy. Part of the reasons why I don't love defenses so much anymore. You played the Giants week 1, cool, so 37, and then New England also sucks, so like, grats on that. Tougher matchups for the Dallas D ahead. You got the Chargers coming back when Eckler is healthy on a Monday night, at a night game, so it's prime time, and then San Francisco, they're gonna just, I mean, it's gonna be a good game for like football perspective, but I don't think that defense can do that sort of numberage against that. So, me talking about this result of that game, 148 to 101 in favor of Peel over Nick. I was wondering too. I saw a move made by Andy this week, and I was wondering if like Nick was going to be upset with him that he made a move this week, because like that brings Andy's move up to 2 on the season. The only person who doesn't have that many moves is Blood Brothers, but like he's not even playing fantasy. He's just like ride or die. So like good for Andy, like trying to get involved. It didn't work. But yeah, to infinity and beyond, I guess, for Andy. A little Toy Story reference. Week 5. Let's look. I'm gonna go toilet bowl first on this one. We got Thrice Crowned versus Hunter Biden's on this matchup. You got Blood Brothers and Kickers Are People 2. You got Bone City and Camper Dude. You got Hans Bowman and Phuket going deep, and you've got Pontiac Bandits and the I think it's Jets, Justin Jefferson. I don't understand the reference. Like I just don't. Maybe I'm an idiot. I have no idea. It's a Justin Jefferson thing. So let's look at the toilet bowl first. It's my matchup with Carlos. Joe Burrow in Arizona, man, oh man, like guys, I would put him at QB1 if he were healthy. Like in this matchup, I would put him at QB1 or 2 in this matchup, but like he's not, and it's not. So like I got him way down. He's my QB19, or yeah, he's my QB19. Which is different than where I think he should be. I think for the sake of argument, he could be a little bit higher, but can't do it. I can't do it until I see it. And of course he'll do it this week when I got him. Hurts is going up against the Rams. I was blanking on his first name. I was like, Justin Hurts? John Hurts? I was like, what the? Yeah, no, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts against the Rams this week. Don't love it. Rams have pretty decent defense. But I got him at QB3. I think talent-wise, he's there. He finally started connecting with AJ Brown a little bit more. He's just been really consistent. And I think with our new QB rules too, it puts him somewhere in the top 3. So I'm good with it. Calvin Ridley at Buffalo, don't love it. It's a 8:30 game Central. It's a very early thing to have to get up and watch. I struggle with this one because I mentioned before, like the Christian Kirk thing is weird to me that they're not putting the ball in Calvin Ridley's head. We went from double-digit targets and just it steadily decreased. We went 11-8, 7-2. 2 for 2 and 38 and a touchdown this past week. He hadn't scored since week 1. I don't expect him to score. If you were in the market for Calvin Ridley, I think there's I'm not doing this, so don't come barking at me with trade offers here, okay? He went Kansas City, Houston, Atlanta, and Buffalo. Now, apparently, Kansas City is 24th against wide receivers. Houston is 29th against wide receivers. Like, best. So, like, these are not good matchups for wide receivers. Wide receivers are 29th. Like, they're not letting up points. Sorry, I'm over-explaining. Atlanta, 27th, and Buffalo, 25th. Like, he's got a 4-game stretch here where he is just up against good defenses. And then looking longevity-wise, like, things don't seem to get great for him in the playoffs that much either. You've got a harder stretch. However, I like the next 3 weeks of his 4 weeks. So not this week. I don't like it. But then he goes Colts, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh is not good against wide receivers at all. I think they're better against the run. Bye week comes back, and then it's the 49ers and Tennessee. Tennessee's bad, but like he's got a rougher schedule than I think people really realize for Calvin Ridley. So buy low candidate. I had to spend my first amount of decent money on Fab this week, picking up Michael Wilson. I hate it. Just point that out right now. Like I absolutely hate it. Man, here's the thing though. This kid, he got benched week 1. I don't know if you saw that. We still don't know why he got benched week 1, and then week 2 was sort of weird, but like 2 for 4 week 1. Here's the crazy part. He has not missed a catch since week 1. He hasn't. It's 3 for 3, 2 for 2, and 7 for 7. So, like, you may think those numbers aren't impressive because they're lower numbers, but 7 for 7 and 76 and 2 touchdowns against the 49ers this past week. I think they're going to ramp them up, and I like the matchup against Cincinnati this week because they're really going to try to win this game. Like, ironically, they're going to try to win this game. I don't think Arizona's the tank team that we thought they were going to be. But, Diggs and Chase on the other side of the ball compared to Ridley and Wilson. Like, what am I doing here talking this long about it? Kamara and Barkley. I mean, I hope Barkley is healthy. Kenneth Walker's on bye. Khalil Herbert plays Thursday night. Good luck against the Washington defense. I think I get the edge for the running backs here. Can't play T. Higgins. He'll be out this week with broken ribs. If he doesn't miss time, like, I wouldn't play him anyway because broken ribs week 1 in. Like, no, that ain't happening. So I need Saquon to be back. Hawkinson hopefully returns to form. Higbee on the other side of the ball. I think I have the edge there. Pacheco and Devonta Smith there. I give the edge to Devonta Smith, but like Pacheco against Minnesota is an interesting one for me because I think they're starting to lean on him a little bit more. I think you're starting to see that. It's either Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor for me, depending on Jonathan Taylor returns. It's his first week for eligible return. He's practicing this week. I don't think it happens. I think Zach Moss gets the look, and then I bump Zach Moss up a little bit. But like my options this week are very slim. So I've got T. Higgins, who will be out, Amari Cooper on bye, Keenan Allen on bye, Jerome Ford on bye, Javonte Williams, who will also be out with a hip flexor, Rashad White, who's on bye, Deontay Johnson, who's on IR, Samaje Perine, who I guess I could play, but like that rookie on their team also looked really fantastic. And then Jonathan Taylor. That's my bench right now. So like my options super slim here. I really hope the announcement gets made sooner than later on, Jonathan Taylor coming back or not. And we'll adjust if need be. I do have myself winning this one, but it is very much worth noting that Kenneth Walker's in a bye this week. So Carlos is to slot in another running back. My points are his running backs are really only going to net him like another 5 points. So I still think I have this one slightly. It's a shitty week. He's got AJ Dillon and he's got Tank Bigsby and he's got Jerick McKinnon. So any one of those guys has a threat to go off and just score more points than they're slated to run. I am going to run through the rest of these a little bit quicker than that. I feel like I am being long-winded and I haven't had a drink yet. So if you'll excuse me, let me grab one from my handy dandy fridge that's just mere feet away. Oh, all right. Crab juice. So next up, Blood Brothers kickers are people too. So we've got Nick and Zach on this one. This is your most complacent team owners. So I will, Andy is as a fan of the podcast, I'm going to give him all that credit. It's weird that he listens to a podcast in a league he's not really in, but I love it. Godwin's on bye. You got Josh Allen. He's my QB2 against Jacksonville. Tua Tagovailoa, who is my number 5 this week. I like the edge for Josh Allen. That was an explosive game, and I think he just rides that too in Jacksonville. And I don't know, those morning games are just as weird as like Monday night games are. So we'll see how that one turns out. You can't trust Drake London. I don't know how much I have to say this or like beat this drum, but like you just can't trust Drake London. He needs a touchdown. He got one. He's got 2 on the year, but like 1, 8, 6, 7 are his targets. 0, 6, 2, and 3 are his receptions for the year. So he has, not that I'm not doing math in my head, I promise. He's got as much targets through the year, or he's got as much receptions through the year as somebody like Tyreek Hill gets in one game. And I just can't do it. You can't do it. As a number 2 guy, I should say, Jalen Waddle and Chris Olave on the other side of the ball. Love this, love that. Both those guys fantastic. I think Olave starts to pick it up a little bit, and I really think Waddle picks it up starting this week too. So we'll see that. Brian Robinson, Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry. I got Derrick Henry ranked up at 6, but I got Bijan Robinson. It's gonna happen to me. Can we just like get more unique names? Like, please, don't do this to me. Josh Jacobs, I think, stays in form at Green Bay here. Monday Night Football, you're going to see some Josh Jacobs action. Um, you know, on the other side of the ball, if you're going James Cook, like sure against Jacksonville, I think he's like precipice high end RB2, but you can't beat the running backs on Blood Brothers side of the ball there. And then interestingly enough, like George Kittle and Evan Ingram, man, Evan Ingram to me is the pillar of consistency, right? Where like he just gets just right over his projection. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even look until I look right now. Let me tell you, projection week 1, 9.88. He got 9.9. Projection week 2, 9.84. He got 11.7. Week 3, 11.36. He got 13.7. Week 4, 9.67. He got 12.9. Going up against Buffalo, they're really tough against the tight end. So I still think he's going to be like 9 to 11 points. You know, that's great. That is great from a tight end landscape. Kittle offers you something else. He'll go 5 points or 20 points. Like that's the range you're going to get with Kittle. I think against Dallas, I think they're going to utilize him as a pass blocker more. But honestly, who knows? Like San Francisco does a really good job keeping Purdy protected to make Purdy look better than he is. And I'm not knocking Purdy because I actually think he is a very good quarterback and has done super well in a Shanahan system. But, you know, you got to note like what you're up against here. And I think that Kittle does do that. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be some designed plays for him to go out. And that's where I think the threat of him making the big plays are because you're going to get so used to seeing. So he might go 3 for 99 and 2. Like that's more the Kittle game I think we're going to have is something like that. Not a 7 for 9 and 90. I think we're going to have like, 3 for 4 and 90 and 2 touchdowns or something like that. So Buffalo's defense against Jacksonville, I love, but I love Philadelphia with the Rams a little bit more. Worth noting on the other side of the ball, on Nick's side, you got Ramondre Stevenson. Weirdly enough, they said that they were going to use Zeke more. I don't buy it. That's weird, coach talk happening. Ramondre is the guy. It kills me that Ramondre is having as bad of a year as he is too, but they've had some tougher matchups like Dallas and Philadelphia in those 2 weeks. The 1 week he put up a lot of points against Miami, and I just think he played a shitty game against the Jets. Honestly, it was a bad game script. 19. It's not like he's not getting work, but he went 19 for 59, and then he only caught 1 pass for 3 yards that week against the Jets. So better days ahead, especially down the stretch here up till his 11 bye. You got Vegas, you got Buffalo, you got Miami again. You got Washington and Indianapolis. Like Washington might stifle him a little bit. Colts, I'm not worried about at all. It's also a morning game, so he'll pop. He'll pop at some point. But if I'm gonna call this one, you got to call for Andy. I assume that Zach puts in Marquise Brown. If I'm making that assumption, then I go Zach. But as of right now, because there's nobody in there, just call for Nick. I said Andy, which was weird. I don't know why I said that. Need to correct myself on that. Apologies to everybody who's a listener. I want to maintain the integrity of the league, and it needs to be said. Moving on to the next matchup here. So this is my game of the week. We've got Bone City and we've got Camper Dude. Lamar Jackson's going to be my QB4 this week against Pittsburgh. I think is a little tougher against quarterback, but I still, Kirk Cousins 7 against Kansas City is also a really tough defense. So I could see Kirk Cousins having to pass the ball a ton and just like Justin Jefferson having a monster game because he needs to, or I could see Kirk Cousins being Kirk Cousins. It's not a primetime game. It's a 325 game though. So like it's, an America's game of the week type matchup. But Minnesota's 0-3 right now, or 0-4. They don't look. I mean, sorry, they're 1-3. I forgot that they won this week because they got the privilege to play the Panthers and still make that game not look as in their favor as it actually was. If you watched that game, I know they won 21-13, but like it was not an easy win for Minnesota at all. Tough Tyreek Hill is my overall number one. DJ Moore, Thursday night game against Washington. Man, I got him higher than I want to. I have him at 13 points this week, and I have him just WR22. So like I get it low end WR2, but I want it to happen. I want the momentum from Fields to continue, and I just want to see progression. I want us to lose every game right now, but I want to see progressions from the guys that I care about. I want Justin Fields to stay a Bear, and I want DJ Moore to be happy with whoever the quarterback is. I think of anything that we've done right, DJ Moore is the one pillar that we've done right. We could have had Jalen Carter. We fucked that up. Um, you know, we haven't seen anything out of this new lineman yet because of injury. So like we're apparently getting him back this week or next week. We'll see. It Something's got to give. Right now, it ain't happening. But the O line actually looks better than I thought it was gonna look. I still don't think they're spectacular, but like they've given Fields time. So here's what I love for Bone City, like Nico Collins starting. I love that. I think Nico Collins is the 1B, and that's your guarantee that he's going to be the 1A, is that I call him the 1B. I think, Tank Dell is also spectacular. Like Houston is young offensively and looking this way. So boy, oh boy, I have DeAndre Swift really high, and that might be the marker to get you boned. But Kenneth Gainwell had that fumble, and DeAndre Swift is looking good. So you just hope that momentum stays in Swift's favor, and that the Eagles don't decide to do committee, because if Swift is the guy, this is a team that I want to start talking about a lot more week in and week out, as Brett's team really coming around. Love Brian Robinson as your number two. The Antonio Gibson thing is over with. We don't need to talk about Antonio Gibson anymore. Yeah, I mean, Darren Waller, you kind of hope for more out of, but like Brandon Ayuk, also great. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. Like you realize that he could be Devontae Adams wherever he's at. Dude's got 9, 8, 20, and 13 targets this year. Like, and he 6, 6, 13, and 8. Okay. That's pretty neat for Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback situation. I love it. I love it. On the other side of the ball, don't think Montgomery repeats, but I do think Montgomery gets in the end zone. So I have him beating projection here by a couple of points. You're backed into a corner with the Gus Edwards thing, I think. I don't know. I still am surprised that Mick hasn't tried to reach out to anybody to pivot a trade somewhere for running back. But you got Kelsey here. You got Thielen, who's playing well this year. There's a spark of life in Thielen. The 2-9-14-8 thing. You like those targets from Thielen. The other thing I just want to say real quick from old man Thielen is, like, he does look good. I just thought a 26-year-old DJ Chark would be getting the work after coming back from injury. Maybe they're easing him into the offense, but my fear on the Thielen thing is it starts to tilt the other direction. Fear for Thielen, encouragement for Chark. But I don't know. We don't know where that one's going. Chark is good when he plays, but he barely ever plays. So, and then believe it or not, Cole Kmet's the tight end 4 on the year, which is just nuts to me. So he went 9-7 for 85. So Mick is playing 2 tight ends here, one in his flex spot, and we just need to move on with our lives here and not talk about this. I have Brett to win so that Mick can win, and just keep disappointing me week in and week out with my horrible projections underrating his team. Last matchup that we got two more. We got Hans Molman and Sean. We got the Jeffs versus Sean here. Patrick Mahomes QB1, Brock Purdy got him ranked down at 16. Dallas defense tough. Terry McLaurin looks a lot better than I thought he was going to look with that turf toe, but AJ Brown on the other side of the ball. Puka Nacua, what a great pickup. My nerve is that Cup comes back and he becomes a little bit more irrelevant. I thought there was a period maybe you could sell him as high as you wanted, but I don't think that is ahead. You might get one more week out of him, but then I think you might be in the market to sell. Deebo Samuel, after a weird week here, also going against Dallas, but they're going to use him in a lot of different ways. So I'd still play him WR2 territory. He's my 16 on the week. Christian McCaffrey, just okay, sure. Jamar Gibbs, we talked about him plenty. I think you can ride him. It's tough to ride him as a RB2. Achane though is there as well. I got Achane at 11 this week, and Aaron Jones, if healthy, which he should be, plays a Monday night game. little Hans Bowman recommendation here. Please put Aaron Jones in your flex spot and move Alexander Madison into your running back spot. And I don't care what you do, though. Live your life the way that you want to. You want to risk you can do it. Sam Laporta for Detroit on the other side of the ball, another Dan Campbell thing where he just like makes tight ends work. And okay, Laporta's doing it. So he's my tight end 4 versus Dallas Goedert, who's just not been what people have expected him to be this year at all. 1.774. He's going 0.6, 5 and 2. Has not broken 45 yards this year at all. Has not gotten into the end zone at all. It's just kind of not great for Dallas Goedert owners. Better days ahead, maybe. I mean, playing Denver this week. I'm sorry, you're playing the Rams this week, so not as easy as you want it to be. Garrett Wilson's playing Denver here. Also, another thing, like Garrett Wilson would probably be like my number 3 guy usually in a situation like this, but Dak Wilson, enough said. Christian Kirk, pleasant surprise for the Jeffs, I'm sure. I'm sure they drafted him thinking that he was going to be WR2 territory, like sort of the 1B situation instead of like a alpha beta. But man, he went 3, 14, 6, and 12 for targets. So like down, up, down, up. He went 1, 11, 4, and 8, down, up, down. In this past week, though, like he got peppered with targets. This is not my take. I cannot confirm this, but Fantasy Footballers was listening to them. Because I watched a Toy Story game, it's tough to like see how it actually played out. Allegedly, Calvin Ridley was open like a ton, and Trevor Lawrence's first look just stayed with Christian Kirk. So, like, encouraging for Kirk owners. I don't know that stays the same, but it is what it is. And Kirk right now is producing Alexander Madison and Breece Hall here. Basically the same guy to me right now, but my heart breaks for both those guys. Like Breece Hall getting back to right, looking good. At times it's just tough that when they know you're going to run the ball. Like week 1, he went 10 for 127 and was the dude. But boy, oh boy, since week 1, 4 for 9, 12 for 18, 6 for 56. These are not numbers I want to be saying. He's getting no touchdowns on the year. He's not getting enough passing work. It's rough. It's just rough going for Breece Hall owners. And I feel for you because you can't play Cook either. So, maybe explore other options there. I have this line at 136 for the Jeffs and 111. And I do think this is not going to be an upset this week. I think the Jeffs pretty well have this one in the bag here. Okay, last matchup. Our number 1 team versus our number 8 team here. I'm going to go straight to the projected points on this is 133 in favor of our number 1 team here. And that is the J Jets, the Justin Jefferson Jets here. Anthony Richardson, QB6, Trevor Lawrence, QB10 does not look great. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I know, is kind of dealing with injury right now. I was looking at it earlier. I didn't know this was like a real thing to be concerned about. Justin Jefferson's WR2 on the week. Romeo Dobbs, I think, plays a good game against Vegas, but like I think there are a lot of other options out there that would take over him. And that is one of the other predictions. I don't remember who the other guy was, but like if plays well, I'll double his projection for next week and put him like, WR 16, somewhere in that territory, 15, 16, which is great. You love it as a Dobbs owner. They play the Monday night game. Please put him in your flex spot and move Jerry Jeudy into. But, again, live your life. If you want to live dangerously, be that guy. If he gets into a car accident on the way to the stadium, knock on wood that doesn't happen, you're stuck with what you're stuck with. And you did it to yourself. So, Joe Mixon, don't love it. ETN, don't love it against Buffalo. Kyron Williams against Philadelphia, don't love it. James Conner is playing very well against Cincinnati. I love this game for him. I really do. It's just a pretty average matchup. Like I remember talking to Ryan out of the draft, and he was like, "Oh, I don't love that I paid that much for James Conner." I was like, "Why? He's the only guy in that team. Even if they're bad, he's gonna get so much dump pass to him just because." And Dobbs looks really good. I wouldn't be going back to Kyler Murray this year if Dobbs is playing the way they are. Dude, these guys are 1-3, but they look good. So do you, man. Like, keep doing you. Like, tank the way you're going to tank. But Dobbs might be your future. Like, Just eat that Kyler Murray contract money and move on if Dobbs keeps playing this way, because Kyler Murray has not looked as good as Dobbs has looked this year. And you can tank that to the bank. Baltimore is my number one defense against Pittsburgh, too. You're looking at a Trubisky-led offense this week. Yuck. Tony Pollard and Jerry Jeudy were the matchups on both sides of the ball here. So there's like pretty much everything that Peel's got this week. I hate to say it. I'm sure I'm going to catch flack for it this weekend when I see Ryan. That it's a big margin. It's my biggest margin of the week. I would love to say that I think Ryan can turn it around. I just think bad luck is on his side. Cooper Kupp, if he gets back this week, I think you play him. I don't love that situation because I really don't think they're going to use him a ton if and when he does. Najee didn't work out. Options are limited on the bench for Ryan as well. And the bye weeks are coming up and injuries are real. So you got to do what you can do the best way you can. And this is what we're up against. The last thing that I promised everybody was we were going to look at projected standings. No mailbag this week, like I said, so we can't do mailbag. My top 4 picks. I'm going to go through these guys right now. I'm going to start with number 4. This is my projected standings throughout the year, and then I'm going to do power rankings, and you're going to be like, the fuck is this guy talking about? But I promise you, there's rhyme, rhythm, and reason to this. So at number 4, playoff projected standings right now is myself. I think I'm going to end up 8-6 this year. I think I have some pretty good playoff odds coming forward. Health is a major concern for my team right now. I really hope to get some of these guys back sooner than later. If my record is 3-2, then let these guys get healthier before you bring them back, kind of a situation. But if I'm 2-3, like I need my ammo. So give me. In third, I have Nick. I have Nick at third now. I've moved him up. Actually, I think Nick was third last week for me. So his rank changed is right there. I think he's got a great shot at making the playoffs here. And I think he's going to end up in third place in the regular season. And then here's where things shifted for me. Last week, I had this team at number 1. This week, I have this team at number 2. There's an obvious reason I moved the other team up to number 1. Should come as no surprise to anybody that Peel has now gotten moved down to number 2. Not for bad performance or anything like that. I think his team's spectacular. I think they lack a little depth, but the pieces are all there, right? One injury, depending on that injury, is not going to absolutely decimate his playoff chances at this point. And that's really what I'm kind of getting at here is I think he's got a great shot at making the playoffs. I think he's going to end up at number 2 with a little bit of money in his pocket heading into the postseason and a bye. My first place team, obvious. It's Hans Molman. They drafted this high ceiling team, and you're seeing that high ceiling happen. There have been no injuries on that team at all. This is the healthiest team. I don't know if I vocally have said this yet, but I don't think the best team maybe I open with this, but I don't think the best team wins fantasy. Except for me. I don't think what I do think is the healthiest team wins fantasy, because what happens is you get these guys, they get injured, and then all of a sudden you got to put in somebody you don't care about that goes in and just like offsets everything. And the guy that drafted that could keep those higher asset capital pieces in place, like the Jeffs have been able to do, man, you're just going to rock and roll with that. But I look at this team and I go, okay, what happens if AJ Brown goes down? You still have Puka, you have Christian Kirk. So you've got 2 guys, but what do you do after that? You got to go Zay Flowers. Okay. It's not the same. Getting Michael Thomas, definitely not the same. You're going to go Deontay Hopkins. He is definitely not the same. It's definitely not the same. It just, you're one injury away, as everybody is. I'm not pointing myself out to be anything different than that, but I worry about that stuff. But boy, oh boy, that's my only knock. That's the only thing that I can even remotely say that would be anywhere close to a knock. But I have met number 1. Let's go through power rankings now because of this. So I have Hans Molman at number 1. So no surprises there. I have a very surprising team at number 2. I have Brett at number 2. health, turning around. I told you if his domino effect sort of happens, which we've already seen a piece move, you're just going to see Brett rise and rise and rise. I actually think I could put Brett first and Jeff second. I really think that highly of Brett's team right now with the way things are shaking out. 3, I have Peel. 4, can I say, I can't, I just, 4, I have Mick. Let's move on. 5, I have Nick. So if you were confused at the ICK and not the first letter, now you know. 6, I have myself, the last playoff spot, but health. Pontiac Bandits at 7, Blood Brothers at 8, Hunter Biden's laptop at 9. Unfortunately, I have Sean dead last here. Just a lot of, sometimes you draft those teams where you feel like you've got you got to go with the guys that you think are going to hit. And I don't think enough of Sean, and he would admit this too. I don't think enough of his pieces have hit the way that he's want them to hit. It's not to say that they won't. It's just, but power rankings too. Like, let's talk about this for a second. When we started this thing off, if you look at the power rankings, like my team was best known for its bench, like the depth, and now I'm 10th because of the injuries that I've sustained. If you look at Hans Molman's team in the power rankings, they've got the best bench in the league according to Fantasy Pros. QB number 1, RB, second, tight end 4th, defense 5th, flex 5, wide receivers 5. What I love about Brett is he sort of hovers in everything territory, but like he's one defensive move away, and he is playing defenses on a weekly basis from having like the most solidly structured roster going into the middle of the season. And I just think you don't always need the number 1 guy. Sometimes you just need the number 2, 3, 4 guy. Or not even the 2, 3, 4, like let's say 4, 5, 6 in such situations. Because if you have the number 1, 2 in other spots, take 4, 5, 6. Like, let's talk tight end for a second. Like, Darren Waller's not doing anything this year, but that's not hurting him because all of the tight ends usually suck unless your name's Travis Kelce or maybe Mark Andrews. Like TJ Hawkinson played like shit last week too. So I don't even put TJ Hawkinson in a tier like other people might in a top tier tight end. Like, he's not there for me. And I have him. I have him. So I'll knock my own guy here, which don't let this get back to Hawkins. I can't deal with that right now. We've already had enough like internal Chicago drama with coaching and all sorts of other shit. I just looked over at Zoom and got worried for like a split second that I hadn't started to record anything. So that's all I've got this week. Please mailbag me. Please throw in some topics if you want to co-host. I say this every week. Feel free to join. It is entirely possible, but probably not probable that there will be a special edition podcast this weekend if we've had enough beers and we want to get 2 special guests onto the podcast. We will do what we can to potentially make that happen. Good luck, everybody, with your matchups this week. Break a leg, not literally, completely figuratively. And I hope that the fantasy gods shine brightly on you this week, because they have shifted their gaze from me because of the bitching to Mick that I've done. But I have defiantly thrown it right back on their faces and continue to bitch about Mick's team. So best of luck, and we will see you hopefully next week.